ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमु रामाय तस्मै नमः रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः 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 7th through 11th verse. अमानित्वमदम्भित्वम् अहिंसा क्षान्तिरार्जवम् आचार्योपासनं शौचं स्थैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अनहङ्कार एव च जन्म मृत्युजरा व्याधि दुःखदोषानुदर्शनम् असक्तिरनभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि चानन्ययोगेन भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणीं विविक्तदेशसेवित्वम् अरतिर्जनसंसदि अध्यात्मज्ञाननित्यत्वं तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यदतोऽन्यथा. We were discussing the last topic of values that Bhagavan started. Bhagavan said these are all jnana sadhanani, the means to gain knowledge of kshetrajna. And the values that we discussed in the last session were nityam cha samachittatvam, ishta anishta upapattishu. When this person gets an experience that he wants, or he gets an experience that he doesn't want, at all times, whenever these pairs have come, he remains equanimous. Nityam ja samachittatvam. And we saw that this is a quality that is cultivated by noticing how these experiences come and go. First thing is, they are impermanent. No matter which experience it is, even if we analyze our life until now, no experience has stayed with us forever. So that experience which is not pleasant It gives sorrow when it comes, gives joy when it goes. And that experience which is pleasant gives joy when it comes and gives sorrow when it goes. So this sadhaka is somebody who is very much alert and aware of this fact. If prarabdha brings an unpleasant experience, he says, one day it has to go and it will leave me with sukham, with joy. And if it brings a pleasant experience, he is grateful to Bhagavan. He is not asking for unpleasant experiences. But he is very much aware that this also has to leave me one day. The pair of opposite, they become easier to handle if we don't have strong preference for one of it. Meaning, the Sanskrit word for this is mahatva buddhi. If I give lot of importance to praise, I will find it difficult to handle criticism. If I give lot of importance, if I have strong craving for honor, difficult to remain equanimous during dishonor. Equanimity is easy for that person who doesn't value these things more than what they should be in his own eyes. If he doesn't value honor much, he can gracefully handle dishonor. If he doesn't value praise much, he can gracefully handle insult. It's just like if a person is going to catch a flight and is running late, that time only he meets a person who is wanting to praise him. What is his mindset? Okay, whatever you say is fine. Now I have another job to do. Or some other person is there who is wanting to criticize him. He doesn't get too bothered because he has some other goal. If we get caught up in these pairs, very likely our goal is not inspiring enough. Something higher we are yet to discover, holding on to which we will be able to let go of these lower pairs. So Nityam cha Samachittatvam is a very beautiful pointer for goal setting. I can remain equanimous only if I have a higher goal. If my goal is praise, very difficult to remain equanimous in pair of opposite. If I have given mahatva buddhi to it, it's very difficult to remain equanimous. Then we saw Maicha Ananya Yogena Bhakti Avyabhicharini, having wholehearted surrender to Bhagwan, and that surrender which doesn't keep changing, Avyabhicharini, doesn't fall in world sometime, surrender and again fall to Bhagwan, again to world, again to Bhagwan. Not surrender which keeps changing, which is very firm and steady. This particular value is said to be the Janani, mother of all other values. Srimad Bhagavatam, only two of them were pointed out. Bhakti Mata gives birth to Jnana and Vairagya. But if a person is truly devoted to God, starting from Amanitvam, Madambitvam, Ahimsa, Kshanti, Arjavam, everything will make their way in his life, provided his devotion is pure. The best example for this is any saint's life. You will notice we don't have to, or they don't have to separately cultivate Amanitvam, Madambitvam, Ahimsa, Kshanti. Their wholehearted love for God was so pure that we get example of these values in them. So this particular bhakti Avyabhicharini bhakti is considered to be the mother of all values. One commentator, he writes a very simple statement, but it opens up many things. He says, an obedient servant of a good king is ever happy. Obedient servant of a good king is ever happy. Servant might be obedient. If king is not good, there will be some misery. King is very good. Person is disobedient. Still, there will be some conflict. He says, this is the sambandha between Bhagwan and Bhakta. Bhagwan is a king who is a good king. He is our well-wisher. He will never do anything which is not for our well-being. What is expected from our side? To be the obedient servant. So bhakti avyabhicharini means that. If you want something, like that servant, if he wants something, what is his conviction? King will give. I have been obedient and he is a good king. Even if I don't ask, he will give, because he is keeping an eye. This is the sambandha between Bhakta and Bhagavan. Then Bhagavan said, Vivikta Desha Sevitvam. Vivikta Desha means solitary place, but a pure place. Having gone where, we should feel a sense of purity and we should feel like doing sadhana. That's why it's very important to have an inspiring, clean altar, puja room, because that is our solitary place. Where else will we go? Shankaracharya said, bank of a river, forest. If that is not possible, then a place where mind gets quiet whenever it goes and feels like doing sadhana, feels like thinking about spiritual topics, that is Vivikta Desha. And Aratir Jana Samsadi. This was another very practical guidance for all of us as sadhakas. Not having any taste, not taking delight in worldly talks. This becomes very critical for somebody who is wanting self-abidance. Puja Gurudev in one place says, people tell him, it seems, what to do if you are unable to step out of such conversation? Because people around me always discuss about other people. People around me always discuss about politics, always discuss about some other thing. Gurudev says, keep nodding your head in any direction. Doesn't matter. Just pay attention that internally you are not taking delight in that conversation. Means whatever hard work we have put in spiritual life, all of that is getting erased with these talks. And somebody who has struggled hard appreciates the value of protecting it. And this is why many Mahatmas, they will have lot of rules. Whenever we hear about strict rules which are followed, the bottom line is this. If you have gained something with lot of effort, then don't squander it away. Goswamiji says, if you have lit the Jnana Deepa, if Bhagwan's grace has lit the Jnana Deepa, don't put it in the street. Protect it, let that flame continue. Don't put it outside. Vishaya Vata will come and put it off. Aratihi Jana Samsadi. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam means being very diligent and consistent in reflecting and owning up the teaching of scriptures. Adhyatma jnana means that whatever is spoken about regarding self-knowledge, starting with sadhanas at body level, mind level, finally culminating into Atma Anatma Viveka. Being very diligent, not only in studying it, but trying to own it up. This point we will discuss more in today's Viveka Chudamani class. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam. Shankaracharya says, Moksha Karana Samagriyam Bhakti Reva Gariyasi. Swaswarupa Anusandhanam. So that Anusandhanam word means this. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam. Anu, Sam, Dha. Dha means to own up. Sam means to own up very well. Anu means after being pointed out, what is the truth? One who is striving to own it up, he is doing Anusandadhanam. In Bhagavad Gita also we chant this, Ambatvam Anusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshini. You know what we are promising there? Hey Amba, oh mother, Aham natu kevalam shrunomi. I am not going to only listen to Bhagavad Gita. Natu kevalam vadami. I am not going to only speak on Bhagavad Gita. Apitu anusandadhami. I will do my best to own up the teaching in Bhagavad Gita. So what is that anusandadhami? That we will see in Viveka Chudamani. Adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnana artha darshanam. Tattva jnana means self-knowledge. Tattva jnana artha means result of self-knowledge. Darshanam means to contemplate on it over and over again. This point we should connect with the topic of goal that we discussed before. Only when we are able to see the result, only when we have an inspiring goal, we will be able to wholeheartedly put forth our effort. And very likely, our spiritual journey will start by looking at result of spirituality. It will not start with this idea that I want to know what is Atma, I want to know what is Atma Anatma Viveka. It doesn't start with that much technicality. We might have read some saints' literature. We might have seen their carefreeness. We might have seen bliss and peace in their life. And we as sadhakas feel, we also want this. You look at Ramana Maharshiji's picture, and you see so much of serenity in his face. Read Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's literature. So much of carefreeness in life. That is Tattva Jnana Artha. And that becomes our inspiration to say we also want to walk this path. Without result, it is very difficult to be inspired to move towards the goal. Now, once I have some idea about this goal, I should make sure there are some qualities in this goal. First quality is, my own mind should have a lot of love for this goal. Whenever it has love, nobody else has to come and motivate me. Nobody else has to come and tell me, you should do sadhana, you should meditate, you should do shravanam, you should study. That love for goal will bring out all this effort from an individual. In science, we say there is potential energy and kinetic energy. So goal is that which converts potential into something active. What was dormant within, that will be converted into concrete steps by this Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam, looking at the result, being inspired by the goal. So goal has to be lovable. Second is, goal also has to be achievable. If I always think self-realization is for great people, then I will admire great people. I will not put forth effort to walk on the path. This we have to also keep in mind whenever we read Life of Saints. They were great, no doubt about it. But that is not to say spiritual path is only for them or devotion is only for few people. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a nice example given. Shukdev Ji Maharaj says, people who have elaborated Bhagavatam before have been great people. But that doesn't mean I should not try. He says a bird can fly very high, eagle can soar very high. That doesn't mean other birds should not fly at all. So he says bird can fly only as high as its wings can take it. So this is something we have to keep in mind whenever we look at Life of Saints. Their journey should be our inspiration to say this is achievable for a sadhaka who is sincere. So first is goal should be lovable. Second is goal should be achievable. And third is goal should be fulfilling. Because we might have several goals which are lovable. They are achievable also, not necessarily fulfilling. So spiritual goal is something which will meet all these three criteria. By the way, this definition of goal you can apply to any goal. If there is a student going to university, when will he be inspired to put forth effort? When his own mind starts liking something. And the student should feel this is achievable. And whatever he has picked should be fulfilling for him. That will make sure that his goal is meaningful. All of this is part of Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam. Etad jnanam iti proktam ajnanam yadatonyata. Bhagavan says, these values that we discussed, around 20 values, life in accordance with these values is knowledge. Anything opposite to it is ignorance. He categorically states that. Ajnanam yadatonyatha. Means whenever we get this idea, maybe manitvam is good, maybe dambitvam is good. What should be the thought? This is deepening my ignorance, deepening my samsara. So just like we have understood the meaning of every word, we should also try to appreciate the opposite of every word. And get convinced that any trace of the opposite is leading me towards darkness. Now taking a step back, what all topics has Bhagavan covered so far? Okay, what was Arjuna's question? Prakrutim purusham chaiva kshetram kshetrajnamevacha etad veditum ichchami jnanam neyam cha keshava. So Arjuna is asking 3 pairs or 6 things. He said, Bhagavan, please tell me what is Prakriti, what is Purusha. Please tell me what is Kshetra, what is Kshetrajna. And also tell me what is Jnanam and what is Jnaya. Out of these 6, has Bhagavan spoken about Prakriti Purusha yet? Not yet. These 2 he has not covered. Did he speak about Kshetra? He has spoken about. Where did he speak about Kshetra? Which verse? Look at verse number 1. What did he say? Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramiti abhidhiyate. Very briefly he said, this body is called as Kshetra. Field of experience is this body. Then 5th verse he said, let me elaborate. 24 elements are called as Kshetra. Mahabhutani ahankaraha. That verse. 24 elements were pointed out. He said that is Kshetra. Verse number 6 he said, Ichha dvesha sukham dukkham. That is also Kshetra. Parinama of Vyavahara. All of these things, they fall under Kshetra. Now the 4th topic was Kshetrajna, knower of field. Has Bhagavan spoken about Kshetrajna? Of course he has. He has started talking about it. We discussed that elaborate discussion. Look at verse number 1. What is second line? Second line of verse 1. Etadyo vetitam prahu kshetrajna iti tadvidaha. One who is knower of field, he is called as Kshetrajna. That was one indication. And verse number 2, what did Bhagavan say? Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi. Sarva kshetreshu bharata. Know this Kshetrajna to be Ishvara. Only this much he has spoken. More he will elaborate. Okay, so he has spoken about Kshetra. He has spoken about Kshetrajna. Did he speak about Jnanam? All these values were definition of Jnanam. 20 values, Bhagavan did not call them as anything else. He called them as Jnanam only. Simpler way to understand is, these values will lead us towards knowledge. Or another way to understand, true essential meaning of these values will fit only in Brahma. Amanitvam in true sense is Brahma Lakshana. Ahimsa in true sense is Brahma Lakshana. So in this way he spoke about Jnana or Jnanam. Anywhere else he has spoken about Jnanam? Kshetra kshetrajnayor Jnanam. Etad Jnanam matam mama. Second verse. He said, Arjuna, in this world, there are so many things to know. Different types of knowledge that you can get. But according to me, clarity between Kshetra and Kshetrajna, clarity between nature of Kshetra and nature of Kshetrajna, this is called as knowledge. Kshetra kshetrajnayor jnanam etad jnanam matamam. In my opinion, this is true knowledge. So jnanam he has spoken about. What about neyam? What should be known? So what should be known is nature of Kshetrajna. So that he is going to discuss now. Okay. But we should appreciate the flow of thought and the connection also. 6 topics were asked. 4 topics have been elaborated, or 4th one is being elaborated now. And the word jnana sadhanani is synonymously used with jnanam. Means of knowledge, these 20 values, they are called as knowledge. But we should also appreciate, if you take the values at individual level, trying to not speak about oneself, trying to not talk about one's own good qualities. If you take it as sadhana, all of them will be preparations for knowledge. Otherwise, somebody might say, if you have a person who has these values, why do you need to study Vedanta? So the traditional example given is, when you have a wedding procession, you have several people in the procession. But who is the main person there? The bridegroom. If you have the best color coordination, best kind of clothing, best kind of dance steps, is there for everybody in the procession. Only thing is, groom is missing. He says that procession has no shobha. The main one is the groom. Everybody is doing things for him only. So jnana sadhanani are like the people in the procession. And Atma Jnanam is the groom. Minus that, journey is incomplete. Okay, so next topic is going to be about what is it that should be known. In human birth, what is that one thing which we should definitely know? This is an echo of one mantra in Upanishad which says, one who departs from this world without knowing the truth, that person has missed out on a great opportunity. In fact, Upanishad calls him a miser, krupanaha. Yova etad aksharam aviditva asmat lokat praiti. Without knowing the truth, he departed from this world, saha krupanaha. He had many things, but he chose not to use any of those things. Who is krupanaha? One who has access to resources, but chooses not to use it. If you read third chapter or hear Gurudev's talks, he describes in detail who is a krupanaha. He has $20 bill and he's thirsty, but is looking for the local water tap because new bill doesn't want to break it. When we go to any city, if it's a famous city, let's say you are saying, I'm going to Ayodhya. What will people tell us? Make sure you go to Ram Mandir. If you are going there, don't miss this. Or any city here also. If you are going to New York for the first time, let's say there is Statue of Liberty, don't miss it. In the same way, if we ask Upanishads, if we ask Vedas, I have this human body, what is that thing I should not miss? Vedas will tell us, Atma Jnanam. Knowledge of our own true nature. Make sure before this body drops, we get clarity about it. That is the meaning of the word Neyam, which Bhagavan is going to talk in 12th verse. Neyam yattat pravakshami yajñātvāmrutam anādimat param brahma nasattannāsaduchyate. Neyam yattat pravakshami yajñātvāmrutam anādimat param brahma nasattannāsaduchyate. Whichever verse you find Shankaracharya's elaborate commentary, we should note that verse as being important. As far as Advaita Siddhanta is concerned, every verse is important, but if you want clarity on Advaita Vedanta, pay special attention to those verses in Bhagavad Gita that Bhagavan has written commentary on. Just like we saw, Ch13 V Mam Viddhi, elaborate commentary he wrote. So on this verse also he writes, not that long, but elaborate commentary. We'll try to see whatever best we can. Not every word, of course, of the commentary. Simple meaning of the verse you see. Neyam yattat pravakshami. O Arjuna, now I'm going to tell you about what should be known. Neyam. Pravakshami means very clearly I will tell you. There is something called as vachanam, Another is called pravachanam. Vachanam means you just say a statement. Pravachanam means whatever is needed to understand, you open up that topic thoroughly. That is called as pravachanam. So Bhagavan says, Neyam yattat pravakshami. Whatever is needed to explain Neyam, all of that I will clearly elaborate. Yad jnatva amrutam ashnute. What is the benefit of knowing this truth? Shankaracharya says, Na punaha mriyate. Na punaha mriyate means he doesn't die again. Means if we don't have this knowledge, at every point this sadhaka is born and this sadhaka perishes. One situation is there, he feels something great has happened in his life. Another situation comes, he feels he is totally gone. Again, up and down. The traditional example in our scripture is Kamandalu in water. Viveka Chudamani, this example is given. It doesn't fully drown. Neither is it floating. It is going up and down. That is the condition of a jiva. Yajñātva amrutam ashnute. Having known which, you will attain immortality. Whatever harm comes in transactional life, that will not affect this sadhaka. Just look at the simple meaning. We'll try to reflect more. Yajñātva amrutam ashnute. Mruta means death. Amruta, freedom from death. Generally we say immortality. But immortality has those two words hidden in it. Amruta. Anadimat param brahma. Brahman is that which is without beginning. And it is infinite. Na sat, na asat, iti uchyate. So on this part, Shankaracharya has written elaborate commentary. Na sat, na asat, uchyate. Means you cannot call Brahman as sat, neither can you call it as asat. Now what is the meaning of sat? So simple meaning of this statement, na sat, na asat, uchyate is, it doesn't become an object of mind and sense organ. Simple meaning is this. Hold on to this meaning, then elaboration will be a joy. Sometimes when you go directly into elaboration, you fail to appreciate, okay, what is the main thing they want to tell? So, na sat, na asat uchyate means it is not an object of mind, it is not an object of sense organ. Na buddhi vishaya, na indriya vishaya. So what is the meaning of sat over here? Sat means any object which exists. Any object which exists. So what is the opposite of an object which exists? That which doesn't exist. So Bhagavan Krishna says, you cannot call Brahman as something which exists like an object. Neither can you call it as something which doesn't exist. It is of the nature of existence. Don't make it as another object like a chair, mountain and a river. This is the simple meaning. Na sat, na asat. Sat means that which exists. So na sat means consciousness is not, Brahman is not that entity which exists like any object. And na asat means it is also not non-existence. You cannot say Brahman does not exist. Okay. Now come back to the verse. Neyam yattat pravakshami. So pravakshami is something which is very clearly elaborated. Whatever is needed to know, all topics are covered. Next is yajñātva amrutam ashnute. Now Shankaracharya says, this result is given so that we can get inspired to move towards this goal. Kim phalam tat iti prarochanena shrutihi shrotuhu abhimukhi karanaya aha. In order to make the student turn towards the truth, start putting forth effort, this result is given, yajñātva amrutam ashnute, having known which one becomes immortal. So Shankaracharya clarifies, mruta means destruction or perishing. Even for body we say, when body perishes, it is mrityu. But mruta word can go with so many other things. Person's name and fame can go away. Some material thing can go away. All of that is part of perishing or destruction. And what is amrutatva? When a person dissociates from these conditionings, abides in the self, and remains unaffected by changes in these conditionings. That is called as amrutatva. This is different amrutatvam. You don't have to drink anything here. Because Samudra Manthanam story, amruta came. Whoever drank that amrutam became immortal. This immortality is discovering it as our essential nature. Kenopanishad we had seen this, right? Vidyaya vindate amrutam. Through knowledge, one attains immortality. Not attaining in the sense of getting from outside, but discovering that as pure consciousness, as Brahma, I was ever immortal. In Janak Maharaj's life, there is one small incident which narrates the result of immortality. It is said Ashtavakraji, when he was teaching, he waited for Janak Maharaji one day. And everybody else started feeling he is partial towards Janak Maharaj. Because he is the king, he is giving him more importance. Why does he have to wait for him? Ashtavakraji understands what is going on in everybody's mind. So one day he creates fire with his Maya Shakti. Whole Mithila Nagari is on fire. And all other people who are there, many were renunciates also. They run away. Because I have only one dhoti, only one kamandalu. And I put it to dry. If the fire catches up, everything will go away. Only two people remain, Janak Maharaj and Ashtavakraji. And Ashtavakraji asks him, why didn't you go away? As a very popular verse, he says, Anantam batame vittam. He says, infinite is my wealth. Means I have a lot of resources. But yasya me nasti kinchana. But if there is somebody who doesn't have I notion in whatever he owns, yasya me nasti kinchana, one who doesn't have identification with conditioning, starting from body and whatever he owns as this person. What is the result of it? Mithilayam pradiptayam name kinchana dahyate. In spite of Mithila being in flames, nothing of mine is getting burnt. This is what Bhagavan Krishna is telling here. Yajñātva amrutam ashnute. We should not take that word amrutatvam only with physical body. It is true. One who dissociates from physical body is not affected or anxious about death of physical body. But there are so many other hanis which can happen. So this self-abidance frees him from all other hanis. Means it doesn't get overly affected by these things. We had seen in Madalasa Upadesha, she's telling her little child, this body is like a coat. If there is a hole in the coat, we don't think there is anything that has happened to me. When we are wearing a jacket, if let's say there is a stain on the jacket, hole in the jacket, we say it's in the jacket, not in me. It's just like that. If there is any change in physical body, that is a blessing of knowledge. That this person is able to see body as something different from him. Change in body is not change in me. This is the thought one has to strengthen. Yajñātva amrutam ashnute. Now the next word is very beautifully opened up. What was the first line? Neyam yattat pravakshami yajñātva amrutam ashnute. So we saw the meaning of the word pravakshami, and we saw why Bhagavan is saying this, to inspire us to move towards the goal. Second line is anadimat param brahma. Anadimat param brahma. Anadimat means that which is beginningless. That which doesn't have another cause. That which is causeless, that is Brahma. Now Shankaracharya ji gives us some Sanskritam lessons over here. And very nicely he points us to this word anadimat. He says, matup pratyaya, which means one who has it. This need not be used when you are using Bahurihi Samasa. Because Bahurihi Samasa by itself means one who has it. For example, if you say Gajananaha, Gajananaha, Gajasya Ananam Yasya, one who has face, Ananam means face, like an elephant. That person is, that Bhagavan is Gajananaha, Ganesha. Now after saying Gajananaha, you don't have to say Gajananavan. You don't have to add Matu Pratyaya. If you have the word Dhana and you add Matu Pratyaya, it becomes Dhanavan, one who has wealth. But if you have the word Gajanana, you don't have to add Matup after it, because that word Gajanana itself means one who has face like an elephant. So the addition of that Matup is superfluous. You don't have any other meaning. I'll give a few more examples. Neelakantaha. Neelakantaha. How will you split that? Neelaha kantaha yasya. One who has throat which is blue, that Bhagwan is called Neelakantaha. Now after saying Neelakanta, you don't need to say Neelakantavan. Neelakanta itself means one who has blue throat. You don't have to say Van after it. You know, there is one word we commonly use, Sarva Shaktiman. Grammatically speaking, we don't need to add man after it. Sarvaha Shaktayaha Vidyate Yasya. The one who has all Shakti is called as Sarva Shaktihi. So you don't have to say Sarva Shaktiman. So if you look at Shankar Bhashya, Bhagwan very likely most places he will use Sarva Shaktihi. So Matu Pratyaya is not needed. Just like you don't need Matu Pratyaya for Gajananaha, you don't need Matu Pratyaya for Neelakantaha, you don't need Matu Pratyaya for Sarva Shaktihi, you also don't need Matu Pratyaya for Anadihi. Na adihi yasya anadihi. That which doesn't have a beginning is called anadi. That which doesn't have a cause is called anadi. Why do you say anadi mat? Therefore, some people say the way you have to split this verses, how does it read the second line? Anadi mat param brahma. So you should say anadi and mat param brahma. Anadi is one word, mat param brahma is second word. Because that matu pratyay is getting repeated, means it is repeating the meaning. So these other people, they split it as anadi and mat param. Now what is the meaning of the word mat according to them? Mat refers to Vasudeva, the Saguna form of Bhagavan Krishna, Vasudeva, that is mat. And mat param, Brahma means one who has Vasudeva as a Shakti. That Brahma which has Vasudeva as its Shakti, that is mat param Brahma. This is whose definition? Other people, they define in this way. Because that matu pratyay is adding a superfluous meaning, they say you should split it as anadi and mat param Brahma. Mat referring to Vasudeva, and mat param Brahma means that Brahman which has Vasudeva as Shakti. Vasudeva as Shakti. Shankaracharya says this meaning is not correct. Because the later part of the verse says, na sat, na asat, uchyate. Meaning, this verse wants to indicate the truth without conditionings. You can't indicate a thing along with its Shakti and just in the next quarter negate it. So he says, don't split the word as anadi and mat param. It is anadi mat only. Then finally he says, I will tell you what is the reason to add matu pratyaya. Do you want to know? Shloka purnartham. To complete the verse, Bhagavan Krishna, Bhagavan Vedvyasji was falling short of one syllable. He added the word matup. Shankaracharya says that Shloka purnartha eva. Matu pratyay is added only to complete the verse. Otherwise the verse would be anadi param brahma na sattanna saduchyate. So you will fall short of a syllable to complete the quarter. Okay? So anadi mat word is clear, right? Why that matu pratyay is used and how if you split it differently you will not get that meaning. Now comes the most important quarter of this verse. Na sat tat na asat iti uchyate. You cannot call it as sat, neither can you call it as asat. Now don't confuse this sat as Satchit Ananda Sat. The word sat here refers to any object which is known to exist. Any object which gets known, which is known through sense organ and mind, known to be existing, that is called as sat. So how do I know this chair? Chair exists, floor exists, tree exists. In the same way, we cannot say existence exists. You cannot call it as another object. Na sat uchyate. You cannot call it as existence exists. Therefore, you cannot call it as sat. It is not an object of mind and sense organ. Now, if it is not an object of mind, sense organ, if it is not existing, what is the other notion we have? then it is non-existing. The traditional examples are Shashashranga, horns of a rabbit, never exists. Or Vandhyaputraha, son of a barren woman, doesn't exist. We cannot say just because the truth doesn't become an object like any other object, and it is not known through sense organ and mind, truth doesn't exist. Na sat uchyate, na asat uchyate. You cannot call it as sat, neither can you call it as asat. Neither you cannot call it as existing, nor you can call it as non-existing. Na sat uchyate, na asat uchyate. Shankaracharya makes a very interesting statement. Nanu mahata parikara bandhena kantaravena udghushya neyam pravakshami iti anurupam uktam nasattan nasaduchyate iti. Just now you said on the top of your voice, kantaravena udghushya, that I am going to tell you what is the truth. Neyam yattat pravakshami. I will tell you elaborately. And what did you say finally? You cannot call it as sat, neither can you call it as asat. He says, what is this? You promised something so big and you didn't say anything about it. He says, nah, don't have this route. Anurupam eva uktam. The technique Bhagwan is using to reveal the truth is precisely that technique which Upanishads use to reveal the truth. Then he gives examples. Katham sarvasu hi upanishatsu neyam brahma neti neti. In all Upanishads, negation is the tool which is used to indicate the truth. Neti, neti, asthulam ananu. It is not gross, it is not subtle. Negation of attributes. Ityadi vishesha pratishedhana eva nirdishyate. Na idam tat iti vachaha agocharatvat. It cannot be pointed out as an object. It will only be pointed out through negation. Now, one commentator, he gives a very beautiful example of how our mind is used to categorizing things into these two things, either existing or not existing. This example you have heard before, but if you pay attention, something new will open up. Okay? He says, take example of sun. Sun rays, really speaking, are not, you cannot give the sun title of illuminator. If you are ever able to have an interview with sun and you thank him for his illumination, what will sun say? I have no idea what you are talking about. Meaning sun doesn't do anything special to illumine. It is its nature to illumine. So you cannot call sun as prakashaka. You cannot call sun as prakashaka. He is not an illuminator. Neither do you need to illumine the sun. Neither do you need to illumine the sun. You cannot call the sun as that which gets illumined also. No matter how big your source of light is, if you take it out and point it to the sun will not get illumined by it. So sun is not prakashita also. Are you all with me? Sun is not prakashaka and sun is not prakashita. Prakashaka means illuminator. Prakashita means that which gets illumined. Now you see the beauty, huh? That thing which is not illuminator, that thing which doesn't get illumined, is darkness. How does our mind think? If you have an entity which is not illuminator. Have an entity which is not illumined also. You see, that is the definition of darkness. But what will you say? No. Sun is not darkness. Sun is just prakasha. Prakasha matra. It is not prakashaka, nor it is prakashita. It is not illuminator, nor it is illumined. It is of the nature of light. You see, this is precisely nature of truth. The moment you say it is not Sat, mind thinks it is Asat, non-existing. Therefore it is said, Na Asat. It is not non-existence. It is not an object. It is not non-existence. In this way, Bhagavan says, know the truth. Neyam yattat pravakshami yajñātva amrutam ashnute. Bhagavan, how can I make sure that this topic is getting easier and easier? Focus on jnana sadhanani. That is why he discussed 20 values before this. More I can keep my mind calm and peaceful. To that extent, nature of truth, the way that it's indicated, sadhaka starts to appreciate. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om.